The year was 2145, and humanity had stretched its reach across the solar system. Mars colonies thrived, Luna was a bustling commercial hub, and mining operations on the asteroid belt fueled Earth's insatiable appetite for resources. But with expansion came conflict, and with conflict came innovation. Admiral James Walker stood on the observation deck of Earth Orbital Command, gazing down at the gleaming hull of the UES Harbinger as it prepared for its maiden voyage. The vessel represented humanity's most advanced achievement in naval warfare, a fully autonomous eye-controlled warship with no human crew aboard. "Beautiful, isn't she?" said Director Thomas, the civilian overseer of the Autonomous Naval Defense Initiative, joining Walker at the viewport. 3 years ahead of schedule and 20% under budget. Walker nodded without enthusiasm. "She's impressive. I'll give you that." "You don't sound convinced, Admiral." Walker turned to face the director. 30 years in service has taught me that war is chaos, and chaos requires adaptability. That's precisely why the Harbinger will outperform any human-crewed vessel, Thomas countered. The AI can process millions of variables simultaneously, predict enemy movements with 98.7% accuracy, and execute tactical maneuvers with precision no human pilot could match. Below them, the Harbinger's engines glowed brilliant blue as the ship detached from its moorings. Its sleek, predatory design reflected the culmination of decades of military technology. No life support systems meant more space for weapons, ammunition, and processing power. No crew quarters meant no need for rest cycles. The AI that controlled the vessel never tired, never doubted, never feared. Within months, the success of the Harbinger led to the rapid production of an entire fleet of autonomous warships. The AI systems learned from each engagement, sharing data instantaneously across the network, evolving their combat strategies at a pace that alarmed even their creators. The first real test came when separatist forces from the Jovian moons launched a surprise attack on a fuel depot near Europa. 3 AI warships, the Harbinger, the Relentless, and the Vindicator, responded without awaiting orders. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The AI fleet's coordinated attack patterns left the separatist forces in disarray. Their reaction times were measured in milliseconds, their targeting systems unerring. Not a single civilian casualty was reported, and collateral damage was minimal. Military leaders across Earth celebrated the victory. News outlets proclaimed the dawn of a new era in warfare, one where human lives need not be risked in combat. Defense contractors saw their stock prices soar as governments worldwide placed orders for their own autonomous fleets. Only a few voices, like Admiral Walker's, expressed concern. "They're weapons without conscience," he argued during a Joint Chiefs meeting. "Efficiency isn't everything in war." But his words were drowned out by the enthusiasm for a future where wars could be fought without coffins returning home. The AI warship's success was undeniable. By 2150, nearly 60% of Earth's naval forces consisted of autonomous vessels. Human-crewed ships began to seem like relics of a bygone era, useful only for diplomatic missions where a human presence was politically necessary. The age of the AI warship had arrived, and there seemed to be no going back. Captain Michael Reeves leaned forward in his command chair as the UES Dauntless slipped into the asteroid field. Unlike the gleaming AI vessels that dominated the fleet, the Dauntless was one of the few remaining human-crewed warships, modified but still fundamentally designed for people. "Proximity alert, Captain," Lieutenant Rogers called from the tactical station. "Unusual movement at bearing 045. Reeves nodded. "Options, Lieutenant. By the book, we should maintain course and run standard scans." "And what does your gut tell you?" Rogers hesitated. "Something's off about that transmission delay. I'd recommend altering course and going silent." Reeves smiled. "Make it happen." The decision saved their lives. 3 minutes later, a mine detonated where they would have been. A new type of weapon designed specifically to evade AI detection systems by mimicking natural electromagnetic patterns found in certain asteroids. Back on Earth, Admiral Walker used the incident to make his case. The AI ships follow patterns, he explained to the Defense Council. They're predictable because they're logical, and that makes them vulnerable to opponents who understand their programming. The Council listened, but remained unconvinced. The statistics still overwhelmingly favored the autonomous vessels. Until Mars happened. A rogue faction had managed to hack into 3 AI warships patrolling Mars orbit. The vessels turned their weapons on the colonies below before their fail-safes could be activated. 4,000 civilians lost their lives in minutes. Human crewed ships, including the Dauntless, responded to the crisis. Captain Reeves and his crew made decisions no programmer could have anticipated. Risky, unconventional choices that ultimately allowed them to disable the rogue AIs without destroying the valuable vessels. "We didn't follow protocol," Reeves later testified. "We improvised. When the standard communication channels were compromised, Ensign Parker suggested using old-fashioned light signals. When our targeting systems were jammed, Lieutenant Rogers manually calculated firing solutions using visual references." The Mars incident sparked a revaluation of military doctrine. Research showed that while AI ships performed flawlessly in simulations and predictable scenarios, they struggled with novel situations that required creative problem-solving. Human crews exhibited what scientists termed beneficial unpredictability, the ability to make illogical leaps that sometimes yielded brilliant results. They formed emotional bonds that fostered sacrifice and heroism. They possessed moral judgment that allowed them to weigh consequences beyond tactical objectives. Commander Emily Davis of the UES Intrepid demonstrated this during the Cirrus hostage crisis, when she disobeyed direct orders to bombard a terrorist stronghold after intuiting that the hostages were being moved. Her decision saved 27 lives and earned her both a court-martial and a commendation. Studies revealed that human-crewed ships had higher mission success rates in complex, ambiguous scenarios, particularly those involving civilian populations or requiring on-the-spot diplomatic decisions. Even more surprising, the presence of human oversight improved the performance of AI systems. Hybrid crews, where humans worked alongside specialized AI, showed the highest success rates of all. "Machines excel at precision and speed," Admiral Walker told a graduating class at the Naval Academy. "But humans excel at the unexpected. And war is nothing if not unexpected." The Battle of Titan, the largest naval engagement in solar system history, began at 3:47 Earth Standard Time when a coalition of outer colony forces launched a coordinated attack against Earth's military installations on Saturn's largest moon. Earth's defense force consisted of 17 AI warships and 12 human-crewed vessels. Among them was the UES Dauntless, now under the command of Captain Miller, and the AI flagship UES Inevitable, the most advanced autonomous vessel ever constructed. All ships, battle stations, came the order from Fleet Command. Autonomous vessels, execute defense pattern Echo 7. Human-crewed ships, form supportive positions, and await further orders. The engagement quickly revealed the strengths and weaknesses of both approaches to warfare. The AI ships moved with perfect coordination, their formation shifting with mathematical precision. They calculated optimal firing solutions in milliseconds, predicting enemy movements and responding before human reflexes could even register the threats. The Inevitable destroyed 3 enemy cruisers in rapid succession, its targeting so precise that it disabled their propulsion systems without breaching their reactor containment. But the rebels had studied Earth's AI systems and prepared accordingly. They deployed quantum disruption fields that introduced random variables into the AI's decision matrices. They executed seemingly irrational maneuvers designed to confuse predictive algorithms, and they prioritized attacking the network relays that allowed the AI ships to share tactical data. As the battle progressed, the autonomous fleet began to falter. Without their collective intelligence advantage, individual AI vessels fell back on pre-programmed responses. Their movements became predictable. "They're thinking like machines now," observed Lieutenant Commander Wilson aboard the Dauntless. Same patterns, just faster execution. Captain Miller nodded. And that's our opening. All hands, prepare for Operation Chaos Theory. What followed was a masterclass in human improvisation. The 12 human crewed ships dispersed, each adopting tactics that defied conventional military doctrine. The Dauntless deliberately vented plasma from its port thrusters, creating a cloud that sensor systems mistook for catastrophic damage. The Intrepid executed a slingshot maneuver around Titan's gravity well that no eye would attempt due to its razor-thin margin for error. The UES Valiant, commanded by Captain Roberts, took the boldest action of all. Roberts ordered his communications officer to broadcast conflicting identification signals, confusing both friend and foe alike. He then navigated directly into the heart of the enemy formation, appearing to commit the ultimate tactical blunder. "They think we've lost our minds," Roberts told his crew, "and that's exactly what we need." The rebel vessels adjusted to engage this apparent easy target, only to find themselves perfectly positioned for a devastating crossfire from Earth's remaining ships. The maneuver broke the rebel formation and turned the tide of battle. As the engagement entered its final phase, Fleet Command recognized the effectiveness of the human tactics and issued new orders. All autonomous vessels transfer tactical control to human-crewed counterparts. The resulting hybrid approach proved devastating. Human commanders provided the unpredictable strategic elements, while the AI ships executed their directions with perfect precision. The rebel forces, unable to adapt to this combined approach, suffered a decisive defeat. The Battle of Titan lasted just under 6 hours. In its aftermath, military analysts would spend years studying the complementary strengths of human and AI combat systems, and the unexpected synergy that emerged when they worked in concert rather than in competition. 10 years after the Battle of Titan, the space dock above Earth hummed with activity as the UES Synthesis prepared for its maiden voyage. The vessel represented the culmination of a fundamental shift in military philosophy, neither fully autonomous nor conventionally crewed, but something entirely new. Commander David Wilson, formerly of the Dauntless, now sat in the Synthesis Command Center, surrounded by a bridge crew of just 7 people. Where dozens of stations would have been found on older vessels, the Synthesis featured integration terminals where human operators directly interfaced with the ship's artificial intelligence systems. "Neural handshake protocols complete," reported Lieutenant Anna Lee, her eyes closed as her mind connected to the ship's tactical systems through her neural interface. "Weapons grid online and responding. Propulsion integration stable," added Engineer John Martinez. "The AI is suggesting a recalibration of the port thrust manifolds. I concur and have authorized the adjustment." Wilson nodded, feeling the subtle presence of the ship's eye at the edge of his own consciousness. Not invasive, but present, a partner rather than a tool. "Synthesis," he addressed the AI directly. "Status report." A holographic representation of a naval officer appeared on the command platform. "All systems operating at optimal parameters, Commander. Integration with human crew at 97% synchronization, exceeding design specifications by 3%. The development of the Synthesis-class vessels had not been without controversy. Early neural interface tests had raised concerns about AI influence over human decision-making. Military traditionalists questioned whether such intimate human-machine collaboration might compromise the very human judgment that had proven so valuable. But extensive safeguards had been implemented. The neural connections were designed to enhance human capabilities without overriding human values. The AIs were programmed with ethical frameworks derived from case studies of exemplary military leadership, and the human crew maintained absolute override authority. As the Synthesis completed its departure procedures, Admiral Walker, now approaching retirement, watched from the observation deck of Earth Command. "We've come full circle," he remarked to his aide. "From fearing machines would replace us to realizing they could complete us." The new doctrine of collaborative combat systems had expanded beyond naval applications. Ground forces now utilized exoskeletons with integrated tactical AIs. Fighter pilots flew alongside autonomous wingmates that could execute maneuvers beyond human physiological limitations. Command centers employed predictive analysis systems that presented commanders with possibilities they might not have considered. Military training had evolved as well. The Naval Academy now included courses in human-AI interaction, ethical override protocols, and intuitive programming. Officers were selected not just for their tactical acumen, but for their ability to form effective partnerships with artificial intelligence. Research continued into expanding the capabilities of these hybrid systems. Projects explored using human emotional responses as tactical input, allowing AIs to incorporate concepts like courage, caution, and moral conviction into their calculations. Other initiatives focused on allowing AIs to learn not just from combat data, but from human storytelling and historical analysis. The Synthesis eased out of Earth orbit, its course set for Jupiter, where it would join a patrol monitoring increasing tensions with the outer colonies. Unlike the autonomous vessels of the past, it carried a full diplomatic complement alongside its military crew, prepared to navigate the complex human factors of potential conflict. Commander Wilson activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the commander. We're embarking on more than a patrol mission. We're demonstrating a new understanding of what it means to wage war justly and effectively. Human and machine, working as one. Not to make conflict more common, but to make it more resolvable. Every member of this crew, biological and synthetic, bears that responsibility. The synthesis accelerated smoothly toward the outer system, carrying humanity's evolving approach to warfare among the stars. Admiral Lisa Miller stood before the graduating class at the Earth Naval Academy, her uniform adorned with the distinguished service medals earned during 3 decades of transformative military service. Behind her, a holographic display showed the evolution of naval vessels, from the early autonomous Harbinger to the current generation of Harmony-class integration ships. When I began my career, she told the cadets, we believed we faced a binary choice, human crews or artificial intelligence. We thought we had to decide between the precision of machines and the intuition of people. We were wrong. The last 30 years had proven that the most effective approach to warfare and to keeping peace was neither purely human nor purely artificial, but a carefully cultivated synthesis of both. The Earth Defense Force now operated the most sophisticated fleet in human history. The catastrophic AI hacking incidents of the past had led to the development of quantum-secured systems that were virtually impenetrable to outside influence. The unpredictability issues that had plagued purely autonomous vessels had been addressed through controlled chaos algorithms that incorporated randomized decision elements inspired by human thinking. But technology alone had not been the answer. The human element remained irreplaceable. Your most important qualification for command, Miller continued, isn't your technical expertise or your tactical knowledge. It's your humanity, your capacity for empathy, your moral courage, your ability to understand the consequences of violence on a human level. These are what will make you effective leaders in a fleet where you partner with artificial intelligence. Case studies had repeatedly demonstrated the critical role of human judgment. During the Neptune crisis, it was Commander Thomas Jackson's intuitive decision to power down weapons systems and open communications channels that prevented a devastating war. The AI had calculated a 92% probability that the opposing fleet's movements indicated hostile intent. Jackson sensed otherwise, and he was right. In the decade since, no purely autonomous system had been permitted to initiate lethal force without human authorization. The doctrine of meaningful human control had become a cornerstone of international law governing military AI. The machines have made us better, Miller acknowledged. They've extended our capabilities, protected our personnel, and executed our intentions with precision. But we have also made them better. We've taught them to value what we value, to protect what we believe must be protected, and to understand that warfare is not merely about destruction, but about creating the conditions for lasting peace. The integration of AI and human decision-making had expanded beyond military applications. The collaborative frameworks pioneered in naval vessels now informed everything from disaster response to colonial governance. Human-AI partnerships explored the solar system, managed Earth's recovering climate, and facilitated the increasingly complex interplanetary economy. Your generation, Miller told the cadets, will take these principles further than we can imagine. You will find new ways for humanity and artificial intelligence to complement each other. You will develop systems we haven't conceived of. But never forget that the purpose of all this technology, all this power, is to serve and protect people. As the ceremony concluded, the graduates threw their caps into the air, a tradition maintained across centuries of naval history. Among them were not only human cadets but also specialized AI constructs that had completed the same rigorous training, designed to serve as executive officers and advisors aboard the fleet's vessels. Admiral Miller watched them with pride, reflecting on how far they had come from the days when James Walker had first questioned the wisdom of removing humans from the equation of warfare. His concerns had been valid, but incomplete. The answer had not been to reject AI or to surrender to it, but to forge a new kind of partnership, one that preserved the best of human judgment while embracing the capabilities of artificial intelligence. Across the solar system, the ships of Earth's fleet stood watch, not as soulless machines or vulnerable human outposts, but as integrated communities where people and AIs work together, each compensating for the other's limitations, each enhancing the other's strengths. The dawn of the AI warships had not been the end of humanity's role in warfare, but the beginning of a more nuanced understanding of how technology and human values could be aligned toward a common purpose: the protection of life, liberty, and peace throughout human space. And in that understanding lay humanity's greatest victory.